question the adage that seeing is believing. But in an era of visual gimmickry, there's reason to wonder. To quote the famous line from the Marx Brothers movie Duck Soup, who are you going to believe, me or your own eyes? Our cover story is reported by Harry Smith of The Early Show.
Wow! Hello, big guy. Hey. Apples. Dylan, look at me. Hey.
What is real? What is a true likeness?
There you go.
The smiles on their faces are genuine, but what ends up in the family album may not look exactly the same.
We have the ability to airbrush photos, any cuts, marks, bruises, runny noses, flyaway hair, and therefore the picture image is a higher quality when you're able to take that kind of manipulation with the picture.
In our digital age, images fly at us with remarkable speed and frequency. This flood of visual information pours into our eyes, and our brains then determine if we like what we see. But is it real? Or has it been touched up for vanity or altered to make a political point? This photograph is from the war in Lebanon. For effect, the photographer added more smoke to the picture.
It was a pretty crude manipulation.
The truth came out and the photographer was fired. Remember this? John Kerry's political enemies tried to pass judgment on his patriotism when they found this photo with anti-war activist Jane Fonda. What they found, though, was a fake. Regrettably, Katie Couric lost a dress size or two to a photo editor at CBS Promotions. Flattery or a failure to communicate? We assume the pictures we see in glossy magazines have been touched up, but what of the photos of your family and friends? Does it matter?
So a lot of people who do the Match.com send me photographs. They're about to meet somebody. And I can tell you that the vast majority of images on dating sites have been at least manipulated in some way.
Hani Farid teaches computer science at Dartmouth. He helped invent software that can detect when an image has been digitally altered. Sometimes it really does matter.
A police video surveillance camera that somebody suspects has been manipulated to medical malpractice images. Photographs have been manipulated as long as photography has been around. I mean, some of the most famous portraits of Abraham Lincoln, for example, are his head and somebody else's body. Stalin famously airbrushed people out of photographs that fell out of favor. It's not that it hasn't been done, it's just that it's just so much easier and so much more prevalent now.
What makes it all so easy is Photoshop, made in Silicon Valley by Adobe. With Photoshop, you can alter just about anything. Dave Story is Vice President of Product Development.
It's the standard, everyone uses it. Every image that you see in print, on TV, other places, you can be completely assured that Photoshop has likely touched that image.
Here's a good example of what Photoshop can do. A picture of me and my friends on the beach on vacation in Hawaii. Except we were in Baghdad.
And if this image seems a bit misleading, it's nothing compared to the colossal snow job that is the fashion world, where models are modified to a level of perceived beauty that doesn't exist anywhere but on billboards. Dove Soap produced a short film that's running on the internet that details the full Madison Avenue beauty process, complete with computer manipulation that stretches the model's neck and tweaks her eyes to a size you'd never see on an actual person.
You know, it's so hard to be human in the face of all this stuff.
Barbara Lippert writes for Adweek magazine.
And I think for young girls, it's really important to see this because, you know, there's no plastic surgery right now that can elongate your neck or, you know, like make your eyeballs twice the size that you were born with. And so all of this illusion, you know, all of this fantasy of what you want is just based on such non-reality that it really makes you crazy.
Very few digital artists walk that line between fantasy and reality as often or as successfully as Matt Mahurin. If you've visited a newsstand in the past 20 years, chances are you've seen his work. Rolling Stone, Esquire, Time. He works alone in a spare New York studio using only a small camera, a computer, and more often than not, his own face.
That's you, right? That's not Sigmund Freud.
No, that's me. I just painted my beard white and went out and got a coat and got these Freud glasses. My eyes are blue, and then I just went and kind of changed everything, widened my nose.
That's pretty cool.
Nah.
But pretty weird.
Yeah.
Weirder still, another Time cover, this one of a caveman. But it's Mahurin's face again, digitally reworked. Or the Time cover after the Abu Ghraib revelations. This image was not taken by U.S. soldiers. It's a manipulated photo Mahurin took of himself.
This is you. This is made up. That's made up. That's your basement wall. If you were going to label this, what would you label this?
I think probably the way it's probably labeled inside the magazine, which is photo illustration.
Now, how many Time covers have you done over the years, you think?
Maybe 40, something like that.
A number were at least somewhat controversial, and one was really controversial.
I was waiting for this.
The issue in question, Time's cover of June 27, 1994. O.J. Simpson's mugshot. Mahurin darkened the image, a step he saw as editorial, and others read as racist.
My situation is that if my work is taken in context, I work dark images. I do dramatic images. I don't do, I don't do brightly colored things. I don't do greeting cards. I do dark images. And to me, this was a dramatic moment. I've always believed in the power of images, and so for me, that was, that was all part of it. And it's an experience that I would not wish on anybody, but I would not have traded for anything either.
Interesting.
What we don't remember is the caption on the cover. The words, the explanation are irrelevant. It's the image that sticks with us.
What we're going to do is we're going to run a filter, an image forensics filter, that detects whether this is an original image out of a camera or if it's been manipulated. And when you compare these two swatches, you can see that these 4 dots, what I call the truth dots, are not present in that region of the image, which proves mathematically that this image has been doctored since it came out of the camera.
The images now insist that we be as sophisticated as the software that's used to manipulate them.
And the analogy I always like to draw is, imagine a pile of sand. And when does it go from a couple of grains of sand to a pile? And surely taking one grain of sand on and off doesn't fundamentally change the pile of sand. But at some point, it's no longer a mound of sand, and it's just a couple of grains. But where did that transition happen? And it's the same thing with an image. When you start disturbing pixels, little elements of an image, is 1 okay? Is 2 okay? Is 3 okay? And when does it stop becoming okay? And I don't think there's a simple answer to that.
Coming up, a rogues gallery of